In April 2015, I met in Svalbard's capital, near the North Pole, with Oscar and Tom, two awesome guys and highly trained polar bear specialists. We geared up our snowmobiles and headed towards the unknown. It was minus 30 degrees centigrade. I wore 6 layers of special Arctic suit because every inch of exposed skin was aching. I could hear nothing but the hum of my snowmobile and the thoughts in my head. Is this still Earth? Is this real? It felt like I'm on another planet. And I sure did hope we could find life out there. With this optimistic state of mind, we entered the blizzard. I could see for no more than 20 meters away. And I think that's what scared me the most, since our goal was to spot and photograph polar bears in this extreme environment. So we went from one frozen fjord to the next, while climbing mountains and huge glaciers covered with snow. Along the way, we've seen signs of polar bears in the form of fresh seal skeletons. We knew they must be close, but we couldn't find them. Luckily, at this time of the year, the sun doesn't set at all in Svalbard, so we didn't have to make it to our destination before sunset. By the way, if you do want to enjoy a romantic sunset there, you'll have to wait a bit, until late August. Later that sunny night, we have finally reached the abandoned Russian town of Pyramiden, our base for this expedition. After a good night's sleep, we finally woke up and continued our search. Now, polar bears are hard to find in the snowy white landscapes, since the bears are, well, they're white. So it took us some time, and we finally found them. A big mama bear and her 2 adorable young cubs, only 4 months old. They were sleeping, and we approached slowly and carefully. We waited for hours until they finally woke up. And it was quite a sight. Although I've seen many polar bears before that, I have never been so close to them on land. My heart was pounding. The naughty little cubs started moving around vigorously, waking up their sleeping mom. I guess the cub felt a little guilty for that, but you just can't be mad with such a sweet little thing. As I was photographing the young cubs, I noticed the mother leaned back and did this kind of motion with her chest. The little baby bears climbed on top of her and started breastfeeding. I swear, I was so emotional, a tear rolled down my cheek. So I did what any wildlife photographer would do. I broke the frozen tear off, threw it away, and continued shooting. I'm a wildlife photographer. My mission is to bring these stories and moments to you. I travel all over the world, photographing and documenting wildlife in their natural habitat. And today I'll share 3 of those stories with you. In 2012, I traveled to Svalbard for the first time. Svalbard is a Norwegian archipelago located about 2,000 kilometers north of Norway and as close to the North Pole as you could imagine. It is known as the realm of polar bears. Meeting them there was the beginning of our romance. Too bad they were seen from far away. In 2014, I returned to Svalbard to take better and hopefully closer images. But this time was different. I could see the change. Although I have been there at the same time of the year, ice had receded. Polar bears rely on sea ice to hunt, and the birds we saw were thinner this time. The guide on the boat talked about global warming and said, "The glacier you're looking at 3 kilometers away, that glacier has covered where we are standing right now just 20 years ago." Up until that point, wildlife photography was mostly about fun and adventure, but in that moment, I realized there's a bigger picture here. Melting sea ice and climate change has a dramatic effect on polar bears. Scientists believe that polar bears would become extinct by the end of this century, and that 75% of them will disappear by 2050. Maybe even sooner. I wanted to make everyone fall in love with the Arctic and its inhabitants. I wanted to make a change in how we treat the Arctic. And for this, I partnered up with the specialists behind the BBC's Planet Earth and Frozen Planet. I've arranged for special permits by the governor of Svalbard and had one of the best polar bear guides with me. It wasn't a cheap endeavor, but I knew in order to achieve my dream, I had to get that unique shot. Polar bears are the largest land predator. The males reach over 700 kilograms, and standing upright, they are 4.2 meters high. That's huge. I'm 185, so it's me on top of myself, and then I'm holding a keg of beer on my head. Okay? They're just enormous. But look at them. Aren't they just adorable? We have followed them for days, and I was shooting like crazy, every behavior and family moment, mostly the little cubs playing. Perhaps they reminded me of my own sons. Survival of the small cubs is not taken for granted, since 75% of them won't make it to the age of 2. They are growing, and they must be well fed. The mother must hunt seals, as she didn't have anything to eat herself when she was 4 months in the den breastfeeding her young cubs. Their food is the ringed seal. Each seal has a network of 10 to 15 breathing holes, and it must breathe every 8 minutes. Otherwise, it will drown. Mother bear patiently awaits near those breathing holes, waiting to catch a seal and feed her hungry cubs. But sadly, things are not easy for this mother bear, as every attempt ended up in failure. Both the bears and I were wishing for a successful hunt. They wanted to eat. I was hoping to capture that amazing moment depicting the intensity of nature. When I shared my wish with Oscar, my guide, he had discouraged me and said, "Well, we can do that, but the chances are 0%, since no one has ever photographed a polar bear hunting a seal before." Talk about demotivation, but I thought that's one more reason to go for it. So we located ourselves in front of the polar bear mother, and we had to be patient because things never happen when I want them to happen. Instead, things happen when they need to happen. And this is what it looked like. I was on my knees, and my camera is on a tripod in front of me. I'm aiming my camera towards the polar bear, everything's set, and my finger is on the shutter. I can't move because movement will condense the snow and transmit the sound through the ice and through the water. When the seal will hear it, it will go to the next breathing holes. Not only will I miss my shot, but more importantly, the mother and cubs won't eat after months of starvation. So I can't move, I can't speak, and I have too much time to think about what am I doing here and how much I miss my kids. So the hours turned into days, and the only thing I'm allowed to do is stretch like this. I felt like I would imagine the polar bear felt. We were both vigilant and ready for action. Nothing happened. I was up all through the night, and the only thing keeping me awake was the fact that I can't move, but I really need to pee. I started thinking that Oscar was right. Then suddenly, without any warning, at 6:49 a.m., I heard a splash. I started clicking before even knowing what's happening. I noticed the polar bear has caught something. Oh my God, it was a ringed seal. You could imagine my excitement. And this is the first image ever in history of a polar bear hunting a seal. This story has made ripples that turned into waves until it became a tsunami. It's been featured in countless platforms all over the world and reached everywhere. Thanks to this unique image, we got the message of polar bear struggle for survival everywhere. And I felt more can be done. To further spread my story of polar bears, I joined Greenpeace and became their ambassador to the North Pole. I met with government officials in Norway, discussing their oil and gas policy in the Arctic Ocean. And most of all, I kept making people fall in love with the Arctic and its inhabitants. This story goes on wherever I travel. Everywhere I look, I see habitat loss, climate change, and wildlife disappearance. One of those places is a remote paradise, an unknown land of pure nature, filled with primal landscape and creatures. Kamchatka, in the Russian Far East, is on the brink of a dramatic transformation. In the massive rivers, home to brown bears and salmon fish, the stream is changing. Salmon numbers are decreasing due to illegal fishing and river pollution. If this trend continues, the bears will suffer more. Before entering winter's hibernation, the bears are in a state of hyperphagia, meaning they are always hungry. But now their food, salmon fish, is decreasing, and if this trend continues, the bears will suffer more. With that thought in mind, I traveled by helicopter to Lake Kuril in southern Kamchatka, where I photographed dozens of bears in intimate moments as they fight for the best spots in the stream, as they charge at salmon, when mothers feed their young cubs and protecting them from other males, and mostly the entire enchanting atmosphere of Kamchatka. Thanks to these unique images, who have been featured in countless platforms and reaching millions of people around the world who have never even heard about Kamchatka before that, we got the message of their survival everywhere. And I have one last story for you today. Its hero is one of my favorite animals in the world, who's on the path to extinction, the cheetah. Just a century ago, there were 140,000 cheetahs in the world. And today, there are only about 7,000. Once, they roamed all through Africa and the Middle East. Now, except for a small population of 82 in Iran, they can't be found anywhere out of Africa. This is mostly due to hunting and increasing droughts. In Tanzania, the rain comes later and later every year, affecting migration patterns and mother cheetah's ability to hunt young wildebeest. The statistic is that 95.2% of cheetah cubs won't make it to the age of 2, mostly because of other predators, like this hyena, who tried to attack the young cubs, and the brave mother chased it away. Of course, it's not easy raising, feeding, and protecting young cheetah cubs for 2 years to adulthood, as the mother must hunt every day or two. And these cubs didn't eat anything for 3 days already, and the mother is tired, weak, and starving, but there is no excuse, as she must hunt a gazelle for herself and her young ones. Here is one example on how it's done, and I'll narrate it for you. The cheetah chooses the weakest gazelle. They both run as fast as they can. The cheetah is reaching a speed of up to 120 kilometers an hour, and she's getting closer and closer, when suddenly the gazelle kicks a rock, which almost hit the cheetah in her face. Luckily, it misses it by inches, and the cheetah doesn't give up. She is catching up with the gazelle, and with her paw, knocking her over. Here it's almost done, but the gazelle is fighting for her life, and the cheetah as well. The gazelle is fighting back, kicking the cheetah in the jaw. It took the cheetah a couple of moments to recover, but the chase continues. This is the first battle, until finally the cheetah gets a firm grip, then comes a quick twist, and it's all over. This image was chosen to represent the struggle of these big African cats in the savannah. Yeah, it won awards and been featured in countless magazines and TV shows, but more importantly, this is a great way to convey the message of cheetahs' struggle for survival everywhere. With the best mothers, these 4 young, adorable cubs enjoying the sunset in the savannah can grow to be these 4 fully grown cubs enjoying a licking party in the rains of the Serengeti. These stories go on wherever I travel, and everywhere it's very emotional. Wild animals are always fascinating. Sometimes they're adorable. Sometimes they are funny. Sometimes they're mysterious. Sometimes they are divine. And sometimes they are almost human. With my photos, I am trying to be their ambassador, to be their voice. My camera is a tool for me to bring the viewers with me on wonderful adventures and intimate encounters. I wish we will all see, then fall in love, and then protect these precious lives by preserving our planet. It is not too late. I believe in a future where wildlife exists. A future where my own 4 little boys can grow up and have a chance to meet these wonderful creatures in person, in the wild. Thank you.